Hello everyone, I'm Matt Mitrovich, the Alternate Historian. Well guys, thank you for 1,000 subscribers. It's really awesome to see the channel grow like this, and I promised a Q&A session, and I got some great questions, and now I'm going to answer them. So if I sound a little like not as polished as I usually am, which really isn't that polished to begin with, it's because I'm going off script for this one. I want my answers to be as genuine as possible. So you're going to hear a lot of ums and ahs, but I wanted to make sure I gave you guys honest answers to the questions you ask. So without any further ado, here's the first question. I probably mentioned this before, but I got into alternate history after reading this book, World War in the Balance by Harry Turtledove. It involves aliens invading the Earth during the middle of World War II. I was blown away by the book. I remember going into the bookstore to excuse me. I remember going to the bookstore to get a Star Wars Expanded Universe book, and I saw that, and I decided to pick it up instead because, I mean, look at it. Look at it. You see Churchill and Hitler standing next to each other. If you know anything about World War II, you know how crazy that is. But you know what? And I did know a little bit about World War II, you know, which kind of really caught my eye about that kind of stuff, about how crazy that was, and reading it, and I was just really interested in it. And I think it happened around the time I was in high school, so it was probably the early aughts. And so after reading it, I wanted to know more, and this was the early ages of the internet, so I kind of turned to that, and through that I found places like the early years of ultrahistory.com, I found Ukraini, I found the Sidewise Awards, I found Change the Times, I found so many other things, and it just sort of blew me away that there's this whole community, and the more I got into it, the more I loved alter history, became obsessed with it. But to answer the second part of your question, ImmaDragon Zord. That's a funny name, by the way. It works as a visual or learning medium? I think you can easily do both. I mean, often a lot of times, you know, one of the great strengths of alternate history is its world building. So obviously, it's often better to do with a book. But you know, look at how I got into alternate history. It was because of a cover, a visual image, something that, you know, another exists, something that caught my eye. And I think alternate history does that well. It does that high concept ideas. It allows people who are really creative to create striking images that people just catch people's eyes, and I think that's why shows like The Man in the High Castle, the Amazon series, did so well, and other channels are, you know, rushing to put up their own alternate history shows up, because there is something there to catch the people's eye, even if they don't know that much about history, even if they don't care to know that much about history. There's certain images that just are ingrained and like embedded in their mind, and they see something that clashes with that, it's like, oh, I have to take a look at this. So I think you can do both. If you want world building, you're always going to have to go to the literary side of alternate history, but if you just want striking images that can help tell a story, then you want to go with other types of visual mediums like television and films. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question. Well, Jake, I do like your videos. I'm a subscriber. I can't talk today, in case you haven't noticed. But if I had to say who's my favorite, probably the best way to answer that question is to say the most influential one is Cody Franklin of Alternate History Hub. He at the time I discovered him, he was making some of the best alternate history videos out there. They're informative, they're funny, and he doesn't make too many kind of like crazy logical jumps away from reality, if that makes sense. I highly recommend, if you guys, if you're going to watch any other alternate history channel besides my own, and you should be watching all the videos more than once, definitely go watch Cody's The Alternate History Hub. It's a really good channel, and I think you guys should all check it out. No, I haven't read any of Peter's work. I do know of it, and there definitely do seem to be a lot of interesting stories, but I just haven't got around to it. There's a lot of alternate history out there. It might seem like such a fringe genre, but there's a lot of works, and there's a lot of works that sort of like are arguably alternate history, and it's oftentimes hard to keep track and keep even just stick with it. Read everything. I would love to be in the position to read everything, but I am nowhere near that. So he's definitely on my to-read list. I'll make sure to add a few to my Goodreads account to remind me to read in the future, but no, I haven't read any of them. One of my favorite history professors in college once said that history is the study of humanity's written records. And that, you could argue with that, and I've seen people argue with him about that, but it kind of makes sort of a sense. When you get outside written records, you start looking at other kind of subjects like archaeology or anthropology and things like that. And again, I'm not knocking those disciplines or anything like that. No, they go hand in hand with history. But history itself is a study of the written records, and that's why often written documentation, proof in a sense, is always important. Same thing with alternate history as well. I think you kind of are following the foundation laid by actual written history textbooks. And so when you get to history pre-humanity, which I'm assuming you're talking about Earth before humans evolved, it becomes less history. I mean, that's to say that people can't make alternate histories based on those ideas. There's plenty of works where, what if the Mediterranean Sea was never formed, or what if the continents were different? What if Pangea still existed? What if the moon wasn't there? Things like that. People have done those stories. A good series is the Long Earth series by Stephen Baxter and Terry Pratchett. I don't think I have any books on my shelf to show off about that, but there's this whole infinite multiverse of Earths, and each one of them, only one of them has humans, ours, and the rest are just these places that kind of become more and more geographically divergent as you go on. And the problem is when you start doing that kind of changing of history, when you start changing the actual shape of the Earth and its climate, you run the risk of getting rid of humanity, and then it's hard to create an alternate history when there's no humans there to make history, to make written records. Now, granted, people will change how the Earth looks and then write a story about it with humans, and that's fine. There's plenty of people who just want to change history but still want recognizable figures running around in the past or the altered present, and that's fine. But I kind of side with my teacher on this one. I don't think about it that much personally because it's not really history. Again, if people want, I don't want to knock anyone who does like to change history that way. That's great. But it's not just one of my interests. Maybe occasionally I might dip into those kind of stories if it's good, and maybe I'll even do something on this channel for that. But at the moment, no, I really don't think about it. Fine. My day's going fine. I'm a little gassy, but otherwise I can't complain. As for my least favorite alternate history books, oh boy, that's a tough one, because I don't want to shit on anybody, because, not everyone writes because, they're trying to make a career. A lot of times they write because this is a labor of love. They want to write and something that they've always wanted to do. They always want to write a novel, so they did it, and they're happy with it. Even if it's bad, they don't care. It was still an accomplishment for them. In fact, no, they probably do care a lot, because, again, this was a labor of love. It's something they still think is great, and they love it, and they don't like anyone shitting on it. That being said, I think it's safe that I can probably go on record of saying 2 books that I actually reviewed and called really, really bad. I won't call off the authors' names. 1, because I don't actually remember them at the top of my head, and 2, it's not important. You can probably find it as soon as I tell you the titles. They're the books New Frontier and The End of Texas. They're both self-published books. I review them both for my blog, Alternate History Weekly Update, and they're both just terrible, just really bad, poorly written, poorly researched, often offensive at times. Both of them have pretty much amateurish covers made. If the one thing they actually that are different about them, but still somewhat the same, that they're heavily biased, except the end of Texas has a very liberal bias, while the New Frontier has a very conservative bias, and I'm using liberal and conservative in American terms for any of my foreign viewers. If I had to pick which one was the worst, I would probably say it's New Frontier, partially because even though I didn't like the end of Texas, I still felt the research wasn't too bad. It's just what the author then did with the research was kind of off. With New Frontier, you could tell the author was just basing this on stereotypes and misconceptions. You know, there actually was one scene where the dying Ayatollah of Iran talked to Osama bin Laden and called him his apprentice, and I felt like this was more Star Wars than real history, especially when you consider that Osama bin Laden considers Shiite Muslims like the Ayatollah of Iran as some of the greatest enemies to his faith. So I really don't see them being friendly. Again, it's that worst kind of conservatism where all Muslims are exactly the same, they all act the same, they're all terrorists, and you can't trust them. At one point in the book, you actually had all the Muslims in the United States kicked out. And I remember reading that and thinking, wow, this is really awful, and no American would ever agree to it, because who would actually be that awful? Who would actually do something like that? Or even become President of the United States so they could do something like that? So maybe I should give the author to that book a little credit, since maybe he actually did envision that someone would do that. But I don't want to get too political on the show. I will say this, both of those books really ruined me for self-published books, and since then I've been very careful about what self-published books I read. Most of the time I say no, just because I've had such bad experiences that I just don't want to do it anymore. Not to say self-published books are bad. I'm going on a long rant here, so I'll try to wrap it up so we can get to the last or final. I think we're actually on the final question. I'll wrap it up. It's just, they ruined me for self-published books, and while I'm not saying all self-published books are bad, they don't have people who write self-published books. There's a lot of people who just want to get a book out there, and they don't really put the effort into making it. They don't make sure the cover's good. They don't make sure it's been edited. They don't make sure, not just for spelling and grammar, but for continuity errors and things like that. They haven't had people like read beforehand. They probably, this is one of their first, or they only had one or a couple drafts. Sometimes that lack of effort can be a problem. So yeah, that's sort of my. Those are my. That's how my day was going. Sorry, I went on a really long rant there, and also my my least favorite alternate history books. Very short answer on this one, hopefully, because usually you're gonna have to actually pay me by becoming one of my Patreon sponsors to get my opinion on specific what ifs. But I will say this because it's a special occasion. What brief research I did, two things come to mind. One, paper. The arrival of paper in the West may be a little delayed. I don't think it'll completely go away, but it probably won't show up as soon as it did. And two, I guess maybe the Central Asia may be a little less Muslim, and maybe China's western border may be a little farther west. Besides that, I don't know how far we can go into the future with that one. I don't exactly know what to do with that, but those are some just relative ideas. Who knows? Maybe I'll do an even longer version later. I'll do even sooner if you pay me. But yeah, that's my answer. And I think that was the last question. So guys, thank you for being subscribers. Thank you for all your support. Please continue giving it. It keeps me going. It keeps this channel going. And I'll see you guys next time. I've got a couple of ideas for videos coming out. Hopefully I can get one up next week. If not, at least a couple weeks, at least 2 weeks, then hopefully I can do that. In case you're still wanting some more content, check out my blog, Alternate History Weekly Update. I'm celebrating my 5-year anniversary, so there's a lot of great content. I invited a lot of old guest posters to come back to do some other stuff, some fan favorites, and I think you guys are going to like what's currently up there, and I think you guys are going to like what's going to come for the rest of the month of June, because all throughout the month of June is about just bringing people back who've been following the blog and enjoying it and sharing, just being fans of alternate history. Alright, that's all I got to say on the subject. I'm at Mitchell, the Alternate Historian. Bye.